That's good news. Snakes on crack.
Hello, my name is Tesh, and today I want to talk about a real unicorn of a movie. You see, there's been very few times in the history of Hollywood where the title of the movie and the premise of the movie are in perfect harmony with one another. There's tons of movies out there with good titles, tons of movies with good premises that are easy to describe, but very few times has a title and a premise synergized better than Snakes on a Plane.
Enough is enough! I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane!
Snakes on a Plane is something of a guilty pleasure movie for me. Something kind of like eating a gas station burrito. The ceiling for how good a gas station burrito can be isn't very high, but the floor for how bad it can be is literally in the pits of hell. Snakes on a Plane is kind of like the best gas station burrito you've ever eaten. Snakes on a Plane is a sort of trash movie that really can't be all of that good by its very nature, but could be so awful that it's unwatchable. And somehow it manages to be basically as entertaining as it can be. Today, I want to talk a little bit about why I think Snakes on a Plane is just absolute delicious garbage. This movie starts with a dirt bike riding, Red Bull chugging dude bro riding his motorcycle through some trails in Hawaii when he happens to stumble upon a gangster murdering somebody. Instead of being a normal person and going to the police after this, he just goes home like nothing ever happened. And of course, this gangster's goons show up at his house somehow and try to kill him, when luckily FBI agent Samuel L. Jackson is there to save the day. In exchange for saving his life, Samuel L. Jackson makes Dirtbike Guy fly with him from Hawaii to Los Angeles to testify in a case against this gangster. As you might be able to guess, this flight from Hawaii to Los Angeles is basically where almost the entire movie takes place. This gangster's plan to take out this witness, because I guess he's known for killing witnesses and prosecutors that go after him, but his plan to kill this guy is not hire a hitman to kill him or even do something crazy like put a bomb on the plane. No. What he does instead, he loads the cargo hold up with a shitload of venomous snakes. He has some of his goons spray the leis that they pass out when the passengers are boarding, sprays them down with a bunch of pheromones that make the snakes go crazy, and just prays for the best that these snakes will just tear up the entire plane and hopefully kill the witness with it. I mean, is there even any point in trying to nitpick how stupid this plot is? I mean, this is just the most harebrained, batshit insane plan to kill this guy. There's a million other things that would have been easier to do, but if he did any of those other things, they wouldn't have been able to make a movie called Snakes on a Plane. While the plot of this movie is probably its stupidest element, it is certainly far from the only stupid part of this movie. Basically, everything on offer here is just complete lowbrow trash. There's so much sleaze and gore and horniness and just insanity. But at the same time, that's exactly all that it's setting out to do. So you can't really knock it for how just dumb and lowbrow trash this is. It is totally unashamed of what kind of movie it is, and instead just completely embraces its trashy side. And I love this movie for that. There are just tons of scenes of snakes just going absolutely ham, biting people, eating people, people killing each other on accident and the chaos that ensues. It's just a bunch of carnage for an hour and 45 minutes straight, basically. There's really so many trashy moments per minute that you have to I don't know, this is kind of stupid for me to say, but you get more out of it the more times you watch. Not because there's lots of layers or anything deep going on here, but there's just so much bullshit per square inch in this movie that it's hard to all take in on your first watch. I'm just gonna kind of list some of my favorite trashy moments just to kind of illustrate my point here. I think it's during the first big onslaught of the snakes just going crazy on the people. There's a guy who grabs a snake, doesn't know what to do with it to try to kill it. He's in the little stewardess area of the plane, and he decides to throw it in the microwave and turn it on to kill the snake. And there's a totally tiny, brief, blink and you miss it kind of moment where the microwave actually has a snake setting button, and that's what he uses to kill the snake, and it just pops into a bunch of goo.
Who's your daddy now?
A couple of the very first victims that get bitten by the snakes before it, turns into an all-out carnage fest takes place in the bathroom, of all things. There's this couple that goes in there, they like mess with the smoke alarm so they can smoke a joint in there. And snakes fall from the ceiling and bite the girl right on the nipple. Another guy goes into a different bathroom just right after this, and while he's taking a piss, he's peeing on the snake and it bites him right on the dick. It was kind of hard for me to even get that sentence out because it just sounds so stupid saying out loud. But dude, there's so many little trashy moments like that I just burst out laughing every time. There's another moment later on when all hell is breaking loose and this guy falls and gets trampled while everyone's running away from the snakes. And a woman in high heels steps on his head during this and her heel breaks off into the guy's ear and gets lodged there, and that's how he dies. It wasn't even from the snake itself. There's a part later on where an enormous python falls from the ceiling. And this character that they've been kind of building up as this asshole British guy is trying to, run for his life while this python is chasing him. And he grabs this woman's chihuahua and throws it at the python as like bait to try to save himself, only to then immediately just get killed anyways and eaten by the same python. There are just so many wild moments like this. I could spend hours. I could spend probably longer than the runtime of this movie just breaking down all of the crazy, insane shit that happens. Something I found interesting and didn't really notice until my second watch was that this movie doesn't really have a main character. Like at the beginning, we're following, the dirt bike guy that witnessed the murder, so you think he's going to be the main character, but he basically is non-existent for the second half. Then you think maybe Samuel L. Jackson's kind of the main character. I mean, he's the only real, big actor that's in this movie, and he's the top billed performer or whatever. He probably gets the most screen time and is the closest to a main character, but really this movie is kind of an ensemble. And what's great is every single one of these characters is kind of a caricature. There's nothing believable about any of them. I think it's all the better for it. This movie has something like 10 different characters that we spend a decent amount of time with. And you would think that, with that many characters that they would kind of start to blur together or, maybe be kind of boring and not really, keep your attention. But that's the furthest from the truth. They make all of these characters have such insane, exaggerated mannerisms and personalities that they all become pretty unique and are pretty entertaining to watch too. Like I said at the beginning, you got the horny couple that dies almost immediately and was only there to serve as some sex appeal and for them to do drugs in the bathroom, I guess. I don't really know. You got these other two characters that are just a couple on their honeymoon, which are some of the more normal characters in this movie. Except for at the beginning when the guy offers to give some lady's dog a Xanax.
She gets nervous flying.
Oh, that's okay. I understand. Do you think she wants some Xanax?
The dog owner herself is kind of a Paris Hilton type called Mercedes. And when she introduces herself, she says,
I'm Mercedes, like the car, vroom vroom.
Yeah.
And a good chunk of the movie, she's hitting on this rapper character named 3Gs. 3Gs is putting on this cool, tough guy persona or whatever. He's, too cool and distant for any of this stuff. But he's also a huge germaphobe, and you see him, in these quiet moments when he's on his own, just using hand sanitizer a lot throughout the movie, which I thought was pretty funny. Apparently, the hit song that he's known for is a song called Booty Go Thump.
Booty go thump.
Yeah, my booty went thump.
Yeah, I know that's right.
He's also got two bodyguard characters. One of them is basically only there to get bit on the ass by a snake and then get turned on when a young mom sucks the venom out of some kid's arm.
That's what I'm talking about.
Then the other bodyguard is Kenan Thompson, who spends most of the movie just playing video games. And then at the end, we learn that I guess he's really into some flight simulator video game. And at that point in the movie, both of the pilots had succumbed to snake bites. So he has to use his flight simulator experience to land this Boeing 747 at LAX.
Woo! All praises to the PlayStation. Yeah!
The only real, somewhat normal characters in this movie are the flight attendants. I thought it was kind of funny that they depicted these flight attendants working in the service industry as the only normal people dealing with the public who are just out of their mind crazy all of the time. I think the movie was, kind of real for that. That's probably the most realistic part of this entire movie.
Surprise! Oh.
You know, you would think that a premise as flimsy as just a bunch of snakes causing mayhem on a 2-hour flight or so would be not much of a plot to be able to hold up, the entirety of a feature-length film. And you'd be pretty much right about that, but they really do stretch that to its absolute limits and really get the most mileage out of it. It does lose quite a bit of steam towards the end of it, but just so much crazy bullshit had already happened at that point that I really can't knock this movie too much for not being able to stretch it out to the very end credits there. Yeah, I kind of have to judge a movie like Snakes on a Plane on a different grade level than basically everything else out there. This is something kind of like if you compare this to other movies, it'd be like watching like a high school basketball player play against NBA players. But if you compare it to other movies within its same class, it's more like that same high school basketball player just absolutely dunking on the Pee Wee basketball teams. Like I said before, this movie is just totally unashamed of what it is. It's just unabashedly just total garbage. And that ended up making it a very entertaining package because it really just goes, all the way to the walls, all the way to the absolute maxes of what this premise is able to deliver. Like, if you gave this same premise to 5 other directors and they had to make the same movie with the same, shitty plot, I don't know if any of the other ones could have made it any better. This movie's like kind of a fluke in that respect. It's like literally as good as it can be with all of the bad elements that it has to include. Like, there's kind of a lot to like about this movie in some weird way that I don't even know if I fully understand why. Ultimately, Snakes on a Plane is lowbrow trash, but it is so unashamed of that fact that it uses that to the fullest. And that's something I actually deeply respect about this movie. I've already watched it twice this year, and I really can see myself watching this a few more times before I leave this mortal coil. Tell me what you guys think about Snakes on a Plane. I'm curious to see what other people's perception of this movie is. I grew up in the 2000s around the time this came out, and it's one of those movies that kind of has just been stuck in the back of my mind ever since then. And I'm glad that I finally watched it and I finally, know what this was all about. Anyways, thank you for watching if you made it this far. I appreciate it. All right. Bye-bye. See ya.